The addition of Eric Singleton will have an impact on all of Auburn's wide receivers.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate. We're joined by Auburn message board legend Charlie 5, also known as Kyle Rush. You can find him over at the barn, auburn.com. And we'll talk about just general portal chatter as well as how it impacts specifically the freshmen. We're talking about the addition of Eric Singleton, the number one receiver in the transfer portal, committing to Auburn, signing with Auburn yesterday. But Kyle, there's a lot of talk. Okay, as soon as, and Auburn fans do this, they do this when anytime they get a big player in a position, they say, well, what about every other player at that position? They're going to transfer. They're going to lose, even though that hasn't really happened yet. That's kind of the world that we're living in right now. But as far as the impact of Eric Singleton and how it impacts other wide receivers, you got to think Cam Coleman loves it because he's going to have a similar relationship with him on the field schematically as he did with KLS. After that, I do think it gets interesting because there are a lot of snaps that are available because I think, well, one, KLS is gone. Camden Brown transfers out. And then like Rivaldo Fairweather played a lot of snaps at wide receiver. We'll see, who gets those in the slot. But outside of that, it is going to be interesting to see like the dynamic between Eric Singleton and Perry Thompson, as well as Malcolm Simmons, as well as Bryce Cain.
Yeah. You feel like, I feel like Cam and Malcolm are going to be on the field the whole time, like regardless. So it's like, really, I feel like Eric Singleton impacts the others more than those two. Cam was fired up enough to show him around on his visit. Whenever he committed, Cam was like one of the first people to post about it. He was apparently up early. So Cam sees the value. Hopefully the others see the value as well. Just another guy to take pressure off of you. I'm curious to see how that rotation though does work out. But you feel like Cam and Malcolm are not coming off the field.
Yeah, then so it's after that. And we get comments all the time like, what about Perry? What about Perry? And look, I get it. If Perry's good enough to play at the SEC level, the opportunity is there. If he's ready to go, and I think he will be. I'm on the record. I think he does take that step forward. So I'm not trying to say like I'm doubting it or anything like that. I think Perry's going to be on the field next year. But you can say the same with Perry. You can say the same with Bryce. There are enough opportunities available and up for grabs due to the departure of the guys who have left with KLS and Camden Brown, Rivaldo Fairweather.
Robert Lewis.
Robert Lewis played a ton. Not a lot of production, but he played a lot. Great point. If they're good enough, they're going to play. Quit with the what about? Let's be excited that Eric Singleton signed. Auburn went out and got the best non-quarterback in the transfer portal by every ranking out there. Makes the team better. And let's just trust the development of these young guys, of the Freeze 4. Receivers not like quarterback. You play a lot of them. And a lot of them can be really good on one team. Unfortunately, Auburn's played against that a ton. And it's just, Auburn's got an offense now where they're about to be able to roll out a lot of firepower and help out Jackson Arnold and help out the running game. The response has been a little shocking to me as far as like, well, what about Perry? What about Bryce? Like, they're all going to play. If they're good enough, they're going to play, Kyle.
Yeah. And again, think about how many different receivers got snaps last year. Think about how many guys played last year. Well, you only brought 5 back. And that's if you count Sam Jackson. Like you only brought those guys back. So now you, even with the 2 additions, you still only have seven receivers that have any college experience at all, and then you have 3 freshmen. You're right. These guys are going to get snaps. They're going to get plays. It's just about finding the correct. It's kind of almost like Bruce and trying to find the right lineups and the right rotations. That's going to be the biggest key. And what?
So let's go through this.
Yeah,
let's go through this, shall we? Join me, please.
I would love you to. I'd love you to go through it.
Sweet.
What are you going through?
Camden Brown played 179 snaps last year. Those are gone. Caleb Burton played 21, whatever.
179. So, I mean, gosh, that's like at least 10 a game almost. That's over 10 a game.
Yep. KLS played 623.
Wow.
Robert Lewis played 294.
It's a lot of snaps.
Rivaldo played 530. I'm going to tell you how many of those were at slot. I'm going to tell you right now.
Tell me.
21 were wide, 225 were at slot.
I think Perry could do that.
Him or Horatio Fields could do it.
Yeah, I think those two could be interesting in that big slot position.
Horatio's done it.
Correct.
Which is why I was pretty intrigued by him as a potential target, because at Wake he played outside and inside. Obviously,
and Perry's 225. Perry's 225 pounds, and he may not have the wiggle that the other guys have, but he's got the straight line speed, so he could eat up over the middle and be a big physical receiver. I could see him getting some of those snaps. Yeah.
One, I love what you did when you said wiggle. You kind of did a wiggle thing yourself. I love that.
You got to act it out.
That's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Two, if Perry's at the slot, if they choose to go this route, even if you do it twice a game, if you're a safety, you're like, oh,
we
got to pay attention to that.
Yeah,
we got to pay attention to that. What's going on there? Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And I think Horatio could do it. What's interesting, though, is how these guys are going to kind of fall into roles over the course of spring. Because, I mean, right now on paper, like, I wouldn't be shocked if Singleton played more slot at Auburn than wide, just because of the collection of receivers that are currently in the room, which is a little interesting. He played a lot of slot at Georgia Tech, but he played almost twice as much outside. Horatio looks more like an outside guy, but he also played inside at Wake. But is Perry going to be slotted as an outside guy? I don't know. And then like Bryce Kane, if he is ready, how do you handle that? And then Malcolm Simmons can kind of do both based off of his skill set. So there's a lot of versatility. And I think there's good and bad to that. I don't want everybody doing both, just because I think that's more that everybody's got to worry about. And you want these guys to play fast and carefree and not have to think a whole lot. But I how they use this, or all this versatility in the room, is going to be interesting to me.
Without a doubt. Do you sort of have like a rotation every other series where you change up the personnel a little bit? The cool thing about it, what you talked about versatility, is you can go tempo and you can give them multiple formations, because these guys can play inside and out, and you don't have to sub, and you can go fast. That's the thing I'm most excited about. I feel like we're thinking about the wrong person, though, that may be odd man out. The odd man out may be Bryce Kane, if you think about it. I think there's a pathway for all these guys. He may be the one, but we're all talking about all those guys being able to move into the slot, and he's the only one that's really.
Yeah, it depends. Like, do they view, if Eric and Malcolm both play slot, I don't know how Bryce plays a ton this year. But if they say, well, we just want them on the field anyway, it's like Cam's on the field no matter what, Malcolm's on the field no matter what, Eric's on the field no matter what, or at least as much as possible, right? We're not obviously talking about every single play. Like when you go 3 wide receivers, that's it. And then you're tied in as, whoever kind of steps up and wins that job. But I think I'm okay with that. And I think you could do different things with them, because like you said, I don't know how much I want Cam in the slot, but there's other two guys you can move around the field, put them in motion, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you want Cam isolated on the outside and just abusing people.
You want that safety. You want that safety having to take a little extra few steps to that sideline.
It's just another underrated aspect to me of this is how you're going into a season where maybe you don't have that really true feature running back. You don't have that guy that you feel like you're going to be able to lean on if you get into the rhythm and you need multiple carries, the guy that's going to be that maybe 15 to 20 carry a game guy. This helps put pressure on defenses not to be able to cheat. You know what I mean? Like it makes it to where that safety can't take those couple of steps up to be able to just dare Auburn to throw the ball. Because if you do that against this receiving core, and if Jackson Arnold has any talent whatsoever, he should be able to get the ball to these guys. I think it makes everybody better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what good players do.
That is. Is that what this feels like? Is that what that feels like?
Yes. Yes. I want to jump into more of that. Like, this is a good situation for everyone involved. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Can you imagine buying a ticket not on Game Time, Kyle?
Why?
Why?
That's all I can
Makes
say.
me mad
Why?
just to think about it. Makes me mad just to think about it.
Angry.
Look, you can see the view from your seat. You can be guaranteed that it's going to be like the most cost-effective ticket that you can find. It's going to curate it for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. You'll thank us later. It's great. What time is it? What time is it? There it is.
Game time.
Today's show is also brought to you by our... Oh, you should have asked me. That would have been great. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. Can you imagine buying Auburn gear not at Alumni Hall?
Be crazy.
Crazy. Look, you know, a lot of folks are like, man, it's too late to buy Christmas gifts for somebody. It's not. Assuming they're an Auburn fan. Alumni Hall, they've got 3 great physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville. Just go get them some Auburn swag. It's as easy as that. Or alumnihall.com. Daryl's done this, or at least he says he has. I believe him. Just get him like a gift card online.
That's what I was going to say.
Alumnihall.com.
I mean, sure, it's last minute, and it'll show that you waited till the last minute, but
the
still.
thought was delayed, but the thought was still there.
You still win.
All right, alumnihall.com. We love them so much. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. The addition of Eric Singleton, I mean, I do think there's a trickle-down effect to this because, I mean, first and foremost, nobody should be more excited than Cam Coleman. After that, Jackson Arnold. Some people are going to say Jackson Arnold should be first. I disagree. I think this is huge for Cam Coleman because you can't double Cam Coleman at this point. I also think they're so different where I don't think you can't put your most athletic corner on Cam Coleman anymore. I still think you could have done that last year to some extent. I know KLS was hot, but the way you defend these two guys, it's totally different. And just the ability to throw so much at this opposing defenses now is going to be encouraging. But obviously Jackson Arnold is going to benefit from this a ton. I imagine he's very, very excited. But then, like, Malcolm Simmons should be stoked about the addition of this for 2 reasons. One is the obvious, drawing coverage. Like, if you're the third guy in this offense, then a defense has to cover Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton and worry about Jackson Arnold's legs. Malcolm should be able to eat.
Totally.
Should absolutely be able to eat. And then also, if you're Malcolm, you're a young player. Eric Singleton's an older player. They're very similar in style and kind of what you think about the future of Malcolm. It looks like Singleton.
Yep.
And I think Malcolm can learn a lot from his style of play too. I mean, there's a trickle-down effect to this that makes everyone better on this offense.
I love what you said about how it can possibly help. How it could possibly help Malcolm. I mean, totally. I mean, how many brackets can you have? How many bracket defenders are you allowed to have? Because
you tell me. You're the one who did the debate about it. Can you imagine running an overfront against this offense?
I mean, it would be suicide. It would be absolute suicide. No, but I mean, like, how do you do it? How do you respect every aspect of what these guys could throw at you? Every single one of them are going to make the other player better just by the fact of being on the field. The pressure it takes away, the pressure it takes off of each individual person to have to carry the load. It's just he really completed this offense. Eric Singleton, to me, he took what could be a talented offense and really, to me, completed it to where now it's you have all the pieces in place that if you're worth your salt as a play caller, as a game planner, you should be able to torch some folks. I want to take another little point, another little sidebar. There's been a lot of people that were somewhat maybe doubted that are doubting the Jackson Arnold thing, and I understand. I think there's an argument against it. I think there's plenty of evidence to support that fear or that concern. But hey, Eric Singleton could have chosen any quarterback in the country to go play with. He could have chosen any school. He could have gone and played. Point. He could have gone and caught passes from Arch Manning next year. He could have gone and caught passes from John Mateer. He could have gone and caught passes from anybody that plays quarterback at Ole Miss, and he chose Auburn. And I know people are people may point to the money thing, and I don't think Auburn is just Fort Knox as far as all the money in the world. So
I want to talk about the money stuff next segment, because I think you and I agree on that.
I know where you're going to go. I know where you're going to go with that, and I do think that's a good one. But yeah, he chose Jackson Arnold, and I think that's something of extreme value. It should get you a little bit excited.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just going to do a few rapid fire questions, if you don't mind.
Oh God,
do you mind?
Fire it at me.
Who's Auburn's leading receiver when it comes to yardage in 2025? Way too early. Go.
Total yards, Cam Coleman.
Total receptions.
Total receptions, I'm going to go Eric Singleton.
Who has more receptions behind the line of scrimmage? Eric Singleton or Malcolm Simmons?
Malcolm Simmons.
I hope that's the case. The case.
If that's the case, you're in good shape, I think.
Yeah, because I like Singleton's downfield stuff more than Malcolm's, just because I've seen Eric do it at Georgia Tech. Malcolm didn't really do that in his role here. But Malcolm's just so good at, like, I don't know. I have several questions about Auburn's running back room, but I don't know if it really matters. Like, if they don't use it if they don't use the running back as much as we're used to seeing at Auburn, like, I don't know if it matters as much. Go and get all the receivers, whatever. And I like Damari and Jeremiah and Darrell and Alvin. I think they're all fine. They're just not Jarquez, and that's okay. But if you want to use, sure. But if you want to use Malcolm in that role as like an extension of the run game, and like, so much stuff you could do off of that, especially in the RPO. And if you want to like move Jackson Arnold out and have him as like essentially like you're running an option with Malcolm Simmons, it's kind of, the pitch guy. Like it's just, I don't know, dude. It's just a lot you can throw at somebody, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and you hit another thing is like all the different things that there's all the different ways that you can feature these guys, and they all do different things. That's what's so great. And if they can accept those roles, boy, you're going to have an option on every single play. Yes. You're going to have an outlet on every single play, and the gadgets that you can use Malcolm with. As far as play calling goes, oh man, I'm getting all worked up thinking about it.
Gotta say, something just happened there. Yeah, for sure. So as far as that's right. There's a weird trend.
I love
weird
this.
narrative.
I can't wait for you to get to this.
Weird storyline. And at first it was happening outside of the Auburn fan base, and now it's happening within it. And I don't understand. I don't get it. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, Kyle, you can bet $5. And guess how much you can get in bonus bets if that first $5 bet hits? Just guess.
Is it somewhere in the neighborhood of $150? Is that what it is?
It's $100 more than that.
Oh, wow. $250. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Just bet on Auburn basketball. You're probably going to get it. You know what I mean? You're like what, 11-0 if you bet Auburn on the spread. I think. Is that right?
I think they've lost one. I think they're
still pretty good odds. Still pretty good odds. Also, I think it's on anything, so you can also just bet money line too. So take that for what it's worth. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Merry Christmas Eve to everyone. So I want to find the exact thing because they called Darryl out. There it is. So I've seen this from outside of Auburn, and now we're seeing it from people that watch the show every day, and it's wild to me. The assumption that Auburn has more money than your favorite team, which it might be true, but using that as a diss is not the diss or insult that you think it is.
I'll never understand this.
Other teams calling Auburn, oh, the only reason they're getting it is because they have more money and resources than everybody else. Like, okay.
That's kind of the point.
Sorry. Like, when has college football ever been about equity and fairness? Like, and parity, right? So that's a weird thing. But Daryl made a comment yesterday, and somebody, Blunt Soup 8593.
Everybody
says, well, Daryl, if you don't think Auburn is overpaying for these guys, you're naive. Okay.
Yes.
So
they might be. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Did we not?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, how many times does a company call and it's like, we can pay you better? And your old company's like, oh, if you don't want to overpay for you, like whatever. Like, okay. But like, maybe you're good at what you do. So you go out and you overpay, you set the market because you have the resources to do so. You go and get the best wide receiver in the portal. You go and get the first and second best offensive tackle in the portal. If you have the means to set the market, go do it.
Yes. Did we not just get all upset and up in arms over Oregon, quote unquote, dropping a bag on Naheem Offord? Did we not just get upset on Texas dropping a bag on Justice Terry late? I mean, that's kind of what that's what we want to aspire to be. And so if we're doing that, that's a good thing. That's a flex. That's not a diss.
It's literally the goal. When you talk about the landscape of NIL right now, until revenue sharing and all that comes into play, like,
we're rich, you're poor. So what? We'll get over it. Just go ahead and say it.
Well, you've got your biggest rival who's used to winning and they missed the playoffs. And so then their AD goes on Twitter and is like, please give us money so we can be good again. We lost Nick Saban. It's like,
I can't believe he said that out loud. Like the more and more I think about that.
Yeah. I mean, he had to talk to people so many people were like, yeah, this is a good idea. This is a good idea.
If John Cohen went out there and was like, hey, we just don't pay people. We can't afford to pay people $1 million. I would lose my mind. Like, why would you broadcast that to the world that we can't afford to pay people, pay these big time players, big time bucks, and then overpaying? Like,
what does that even mean?
Based off what?
What does that even mean? There's not a salary cap.
Duke just apparently paid this kid from Tulane $4 million a year to come over there and play. Like, that seems
people are mad that like reportedly Jackson Arnold's getting 2, and it's like, no, that was a bargain. If that's the market, that Missouri guy signed the Penn State backup quarterback for like $1.5 million. That report came out yesterday. It's like, yeah, I'll take Jackson Arnold. Thank you.
So does overpaying not count? Is that what it is? Like, it just doesn't count at all? Whatever we paid Cam Newton was the discount, was the deal of the century,
no kidding,
lifetime, based off of what these guys are getting paid right now.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's not a diss though. That is
such a weird thing. It's like overpaying is not like I'm sorry, that's not the diss that you think it is.
Because just like you said, that's how you get players now. That is how a lot of times that's how you get players. So if you've
got an issue with the system now, and like you think that college football isn't what it used to be and all, like if you got a problem with that, like that's fine.
Sure.
But you can't get mad at Auburn doing what it takes to get talent and also be upset with losing and not having good enough players. You can't do both.
No, for sure. And you can't say, oh, so-and-so dropped a bag on so-and-so. That's the only reason they got them. And then when we get players, I mean, we're doing the same. We're kind of trying to do the same thing. You're just picking and choosing your battles on which ones you feel like you can win.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, is that the only reason guys are coming here? No, I've talked to double-digit guys who got offered more to go other places, and they chose Auburn.
Yeah.
And I ask why, just because I'm genuinely curious. And they're like, because these guys built a relationship with me. And like, I want to be here. I want to win at Auburn. Like, okay, great.
There's still a lot of value on that. So on relationships and then playing time and the depth chart and how you fit in the offense, there's still a huge piece of that. So sometimes you may not have to be all the way there. You just got to be close money wise, and it helps you make the decision.
And I would say it's that way for most players, not all. Not all. And we don't know the situation for everybody. Everybody's got different motivations and all of that. But I would say most players, the relationship really, really, really matters.
Do I think Auburn is extremely competitive NIL-wise? Absolutely. Do I think they're anywhere near like the top 10 maybe in spending as far as like what they spend on a roster? I don't, maybe, but I don't think they're, if they are, they're barely number 10. I mean, I can think of several.
I'm thinking 12 to 15 range probably is probably where I would think Auburn's NIL spending is for football.
You're just efficient with it and you know what you're doing because you actually have a guy like Will Redmond now who does this kind of for a living. And this is as advertised, everything that's happened that we thought would happen when you add him to this staff has happened. He's killed it in spring. He killed it in high school recruiting, and he's killing it right now in this portal period. He's 3 for 3 so far as player roster management. He's doing really, really well. And then the retention piece, like we're not even talking about that. The retention piece, like we're doing, like what's the biggest loss? Like what's the biggest loss? You're like, dang.
Oh, it was Amaris, but we got him back.
Yeah, got him back.
I mean, most Auburn fans would say Walker White, but
for some reason, yes. That
I like Walker.
I do too, but my God.
But like, are we going to act like
he played 3 snaps?
I don't know. Like
he played 3 snaps and you got
I hope
right
Walker
there.
succeeds. I hope he succeeds, but like, I don't know. He would have had a shot in 2 years if he had stayed. He's waiting. He's going to be sitting a year at Baylor, assuming that's where he goes. Like, I wish him nothing but the best. But as far as 2025, like, who would you trust to win a game more today? Ashton Daniels or Walker?
Yeah, I mean, you got to go with Ashton Daniels.
I'm not super confident in that answer, but that is who I would say. I'm not super confident in it, but
totally.
Yeah, in a backup quarterback role, like, yeah, probably so. Probably so.
For sure.
Or Deuce. I'd pick Deuce over Walker, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. I just the retention piece has been incredible. Probably the one I'm the most sad about is probably TJ Lindsey, just because I thought he had a chance to be really good.
I kind of forgot that was so long ago. Yeah,
I know he was like one of the first ones to go.
I mean he would have played next year, I would think.
He would have played some for sure. And then
Micah Riley, I liked him too, but I think they've done a good job of replacing him. Let's just all right, let's just go get all the Maryland tight ends.
How do you feel if you're Rico Walker right now? You're like, God, I tried to get away from these guys, and here they are again. They're all coming back to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised how little we saw of Rico Walker last year. So we'll see. Yeah. All right, man. Thanks for doing this. Merry Christmas to you. Man. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Yeah, for sure. Subscribe to thebarnauburn.com. And then that's where you can catch up and go. If you start now, you can probably catch up in the portal mega thread by June. It's
how many pages are we at?
It's like 370-ish right now. So it's a lot of stuff going on in there. Sometimes it just evolves into a conversation, but regardless, there's information in there, and then we're keeping track of the roster for you. So a lot of information you get at thebarnauburn.com, and then you can catch me anywhere you get a podcast, the Top Button Podcast.
Yep. You can find my stuff over at thebarnauburn.com as well. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.